Good morning, students. Today, let us discuss an idea related to magnetism of materials. Curie and Faraday. Curie and Faraday. They worked on different materials, how they are responding to external magnetic field, and they studied the properties of those materials in the absence and in the presence of external magnetic field. Based on their observations, they classified materials into three categories. They are all materials are classified into three categories: diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material, and ferromagnetic material. If you want to call a material as a diamagnetic material, whenever you keep this material between the poles of a magnet, poles of a magnet means here is a north pole like this, here is some south pole like this. Lines of force will go from north pole to south pole like this. Whenever we keep a material in between this non-uniform magnetic field between these poles, here lines of force are very closer to one another, here lines of force are away from one another. So this is a region of strengthy magnetic field, this is a region of weak magnetic field. If the material is having a tendency to move from stronger region of the field to the weaker region of the field, then such material is called diamagnetic material. Then such material is called diamagnetic material. Whenever we keep a material between the poles like this, if the material is having a tendency to move from weaker part of the region to stronger part of the region, weaker part of the region to stronger part of the region, then that material is considered as ferromagnetic material. Even paramagnetic material also will move slowly, ferromagnetic material will move fastly. They will move from region of weak magnetic field to region of strong magnetic field. If the material is moving slowly, that is paramagnetic material. If the material is moving fastly, then that is ferromagnetic material. What is the difference between these three materials? Generally, if you take diamagnetic material, it is not attracted by the external magnet. Sometimes it might be repelled by the external magnet. If you take a paramagnetic material, it will be attracted by the external magnet, but that attraction is very small. The force of attraction is very small. If you take ferromagnetic material, it will be strongly attracted by the external magnet. It will be strongly attracted by the external magnet. And this diamagnetic material will get feeble magnetism in a direction opposite to that means every substance possesses so many atomic magnets. Already you know about this idea. These atomic magnets are randomly distributed. Whenever you keep this unmagnetized substance between the pole pieces of a magnetic field, these atomic magnets will align themselves in a direction opposite to the field. In a direction opposite to the field. For example, in this case, here north pole is there. Here you will get south pole, north pole, south pole, north pole like that. The orientation of these atomic magnets is in opposite direction to the field direction. Then such material is called diamagnetic material. All the atomic magnets will not align themselves in the opposite direction. Only a few of them will align in a direction opposite to the field direction. Then such material is called diamagnetic material. Whenever you keep an unmagnetized substance between the pole pieces, a feeble magnetism, feeble in the sense a little magnetism gained by the material in the same direction of the field. In the same direction, this is dia. Here, the atomic magnets are arranged themselves in a direction. Most of them are in the direction of the field. In the direction of the field. That means this is north, south, north, south, north, south. Such a material is called paramagnetic material. Such a magnetic material is called. That means here actually field direction B bar is like this. They are aligning opposite to the field direction. Here field direction B bar is still like that. They are aligning themselves in the direction of the field. Such a material is called paramagnetic material. Such a magnetic material is called paramagnetic material. Whenever you keep ferromagnetic material, all the atomic magnets will align themselves in the direction of the field. All the atomic magnets will align themselves in the direction of field. In the direction of the field means, suppose here is north pole, here is south pole, field lines of force are like this. Okay, atomic magnets are arranged themselves like this. Here south pole will be there, here north pole will be there. So nearer to the north pole of the external field, south pole of the magnet is observed. Nearer to the south pole of the magnetic field, external magnetic field, north pole is observed. Such a material is called ferromagnetic material. Ferromagnetic material. So clearly you tell me, what is the difference between dia, para, ferro? Whenever a magnetic material is kept inside external magnetic field, if it is not attracted by the external field and if it is repelled by the external field, such a material is called diamagnetic material. If the given magnetic material is attracted by the external field with feeble magnetism or a weak magnetism, such a material is called paramagnetic material. And if the magnetic material what you kept between the pole pieces of external magnetic field will strongly magnetized and get attracted by the external field, such a material is called ferromagnetic material. So we can classify the materials into these three categories based on the observations given by Curie and Faraday. They did lot of experiments and they concluded the different magnetic behaviors of different substances, and they classified the magnetic materials into these three categories. And they also studied the dependence of this magnetism on temperature, and also they worked out to get some formula like Curie law, Curie-Weiss law, and they gave very important inferences from their observations. Let us see point by point about the inferences given by the scientists. Now, let us see point by point about diamagnetic materials. First point, these substances can have tendency to move from stronger part of magnetic field to weaker part of field. Second point, they are feebly magnetized in a direction opposite to the field. Third point, examples for such materials are bismuth, copper, lead, silicon, nitrogen, etc. Water, sodium chloride, etc. Fourth point, whenever we keep a diamagnetic material, the external magnetic field lines will orient themselves like this. They will not allow the lines of force to pass through them. If they allow, maybe one or two lines may go, remaining all lines will be expelled by the diamagnetic substance. No lines of force will try to enter here. They will be expelled by this is axis. These are the lines of force. This is the axis of the magnet. This is a diamagnetic substance. That means the magnetic field lines are expelled by these substances. Next point, nothing but fourth point. The magnetic field inside the substance B is less than B naught, field in free space or field in space. Applied magnetic field is B naught, magnetic induction developed inside the diamagnetic substance is B. So B is less than B naught. B less than B naught implies B by B naught is less than 1. B by B naught is less than 1. That implies B is equal to mu H by mu naught H is less than 1. H gets cancelled. So mu by mu naught is called relative permeability less than 1. Relative permeability less than 1. Relative permeability is less than 1. Such a material is called diamagnetic material. The fifth point, we already know that relative permeability is equal to 1 plus chi. Chi is called magnetic susceptibility. Chi is called magnetic susceptibility. Now, as mu r is less than 1, as the mu r value is less than 1, susceptibility value, what will happen? Susceptibility value is negative. Susceptibility value is negative. And sixth point, susceptibility of diamagnetic substance is independent of temperature. Is independent of temperature. Which means that if you draw a graph between susceptibility of the material and temperature, you will get negative value and which is constant value. This is origin. So susceptibility is negative and a constant and is independent of temperature for a diamagnetic substance. Last point. Diamagnetism is available in all the materials. Depending on the applied magnetic field and depending on the nature of the material, it may become paramagnetic and ferromagnetic material. So diamagnetism is a universal property. Diamagnetism is a universal property. Diamagnetism is a universal property that is present in all substances. That is present in all substances. However, the effect is so weak in most of the cases. In most of the cases, it gets shifted by other effects like paramagnetism and ferromagnetism, etc. Like para, ferromagnetism, etc. That means diamagnetism means a weak, feeble magnetism in the direction opposite to the applied field. It is available in all the bodies. Sometimes it might be shifted. Like para or ferromagnetism, depending on the temperature value and external field strength, etc., etc. So this is the information about diamagnetism. Generally, conductors are having ability to pass electric current through them, but a property called resistance opposes the flow of current through them. At room temperature, we cannot make resistance to become zero. When we change the temperature of the conductor at a certain temperature, at a certain low temperature, that conductor will behave as perfectly diamagnetic material, and its susceptibility is exactly becomes -1, and its relative permeability exactly becomes 0. Relative permeability becomes 0, magnetic susceptibility becomes -1 at certain low temperature. Then resistance of the conductor becomes 0. Such a conductor is called superconductor. Such a conductor is called superconductor. So how to make a conductor a superconductor? Certain metals like mercury, if we cool them to a low temperature like around 4.2 Kelvin, that means 4.2 Kelvin means how much temperature it is? You know that degrees centigrade by adding 273 can be converted as degree Kelvin. So whenever you are given Kelvin value, we need centigrade value. So degree centigrade is equal to Kelvin minus 273. That is 4.2 minus 273. Around 269 point something. So at that low temperature, 273 minus 4.2 means how much? 273, 4.2. So it becomes 8. 268.8. Minus degrees centigrade. At such low temperature, mercury behaves as superconductor. Its resistance becomes 0, and its relative permeability becomes 0. Magnetic susceptibility becomes -1. That means if you take the substance like this, it behaves as perfect diamagnetic material. Perfect diamagnetic superconductor it is. This effect is called Meissner effect. Meissner. It is the name of a scientist, and this effect is called Meissner effect. Okay. This superconducting concept is used in various modern applications. Like superconducting magnets are used in magnetically levitated superfast trains. Magnetically levitated superfast trains are working on the principle of superconducting magnets. So in this way, a perfectly diamagnetic material can be made by lowering the temperature of a particular metal, and once the temperature is raised to certain low value, it behaves as perfect diamagnetic material, and it shows 0 resistance for the flow of current through it. Such a conductor is called superconductor. Such a effect is called Meissner effect, and such principle is used in various modern applications like superfast trains, etc. Now let us move to paramagnetism. Already we discussed about this paramagnetism. Some points about paramagnetism. Now let us learn. These substances which get feeble magnetism in the direction of applied field. These substances gets feeble magnetism in the direction of field. Field means external field. External field. They will move from or they have a tendency to move from weaker part of the field to stronger part. Of field. Otherwise, they may move slowly. They have a tendency to move from weaker part of the field to stronger part, or they may move slowly. The third point, if you see some examples for paramagnetic substances: aluminum, sodium, calcium, oxygen. Oxygen means at NTP. NTP or STP? STP you take, no problem. Copper chloride. Copper chloride, etc. Fourth point, whenever we keep a paramagnetic substance inside an external field, few lines of force, this is the axis of the magnet, few magnetic lines of force will enter through that, like this, like this. More lines are inside than outside. More lines are inside than outside. Hence, magnetic field inside the paramagnetic substance is greater than outside. That means B by B naught is greater than 1. That means mu H by mu naught H is greater than 1. That means H gets cancelled. Mu by mu naught is greater than 1. That means mu R is greater than 1. And you know that this is fifth point. Relative permeability is greater than 1. This is fifth point. Sixth point, you know that relative permeability is equal to 1 plus magnetic susceptibility. 1 plus magnetic susceptibility. That implies magnetic susceptibility is a small value but positive value. Small and positive. Well, here we need to learn a law called Curie law. Here we need to learn a law called Curie law. Paramagnetic materials follows Curie law. Curie's law. Here susceptibility of the magnetic susceptibility of the paramagnetic material depends on temperature. Susceptibility of the paramagnetic material depends on the temperature. The temperature dependence of susceptibility of paramagnetic material is like this. It is like this. That means susceptibility of or magnetic susceptibility of the material is inversely proportional to absolute temperature. Is inversely proportional to absolute temperature. And susceptibility also proportional to permeability of the medium. So by combining these two, susceptibility is proportional to mu naught by T. Magnetic susceptibility is equal to some constant C into mu naught by T. Some constant C into mu naught by T. Here this constant is called Curie's constant. Here this constant is called Curie's constant. Sometimes already you know that B is equal to mu naught H. H is the magnetizing field strength. So external magnetic field strength is constant. So you can say that B is proportional to mu naught. You can write this formula chi m is equal to C into B by T. C into B by T. Strictly speaking, B naught, external magnetic field. B naught by T. B naught by T. This law is called Curie's law. So susceptibility of paramagnetic substance is inversely proportional to temperature. And it also depends on the nature of the material, because depending on the nature of material, relative permeability is decided. So susceptibility depends on paramagnetic material, depends on nature of material, that is relative permeability depends on nature of material, hence it depends on the and its temperature. This is the conclusion I can give related to paramagnetic material. Now if you observe the susceptibility of para and diamagnetic materials, susceptibility of paramagnetic material is 100 times greater than susceptibility. Already you take a note here. We completed some points. Susceptibility of paramagnetic material is 100 times greater than that of diamagnetic material. Okay, I hope you followed this. Now let us move to ferromagnetic material. Now let us move to ferromagnetic material. Here, first point is, whenever we keep a ferromagnetic material in external magnetic field, what will happen? It will get magnetized in the same direction of the magnetic field, and it is getting attracted by the external field, and it will move strongly from weaker region of the field to the stronger region of the field. All these points we discussed. Let us summarize them in an order. They get strongly magnetized. They get strongly magnetized in the direction of external field. In the direction of external field. They move from region of weak field to strong field quickly. The third important point is, if you take a ferromagnetic material, all the lines of force will try to move into this. This is the axis. So all the magnetic lines of force will rush into the material in case of ferromagnetic material. Magnetic lines of force tend to crowd into substance. Tend to crowded into the substance. Tend to crowd into the substance. See. Next point. Magnetic susceptibility is very, very, very high and positive. Magnetic susceptibility is very, very high and positive. Hence, we can make permanent magnets. With them, because they are easily getting magnetized. So, and they retain that magnetism for a long time. Hence, ferromagnetic materials are used for making of permanent magnets. If you see the temperature dependence of ferromagnetic material, the temperature dependence is given by a law called Curie-Weiss law. Curie-Weiss law. Let us see that. Next point. Curie-Weiss law. When we raise the temperature, susceptibility of the magnetic material increases first or decreases first. Let us see. First, you see the graph. Susceptibility of the material and temperature. The temperature dependence is observed like this. And here is a temperature called Curie temperature. Now let us understand the behavior of magnetic susceptibility with the temperature for ferromagnetic substances. With the rise of temperature, susceptibility of the material decreases first, and then the material is converted into paramagnetic material. the transition temperature from ferromagnetic substance to paramagnetic substance is called Curie temperature. Curie temperature. When we increase the temperature, the susceptibility is going to decrease. You know that for paramagnetic substance, susceptibility is small and positive. For ferromagnetic substance, susceptibility is large and positive. So when we increase the temperature, susceptibility value decreases, and at a particular temperature, ferromagnetic substance will become like a paramagnetic substance, and the susceptibility value is small and positive. Such temperature at which ferromagnetic substance is converted to paramagnetic substance is called Curie temperature. According to this law, the temperature above the Curie temperature, ferromagnetic substances become ordinary permanent magnets. Susceptibility is proportional to 1 by T minus Tc. So susceptibility is equal to some constant capital C by T minus Tc. Here C is called Curie-Weiss constant. That means when we increase the temperature above the Curie temperature, ferromagnetic material is behaving as ordinary paramagnetic material, and it is obeying which law? Curie-Weiss law. And it is obeying Curie-Weiss law. So the statement you can say like that: when we increase temperature of ferro substance above Curie temperature, it behaves as ordinary para substance or paramagnetic substance. And follows Curie-Weiss law. And follows Curie-Weiss law. Based on the domain theory, we will explain the concept of ferromagnetism, and some examples if you see here. This is the material, and whose Curie temperature in Kelvin it is given here. For cobalt, the Curie temperature is 1394 Kelvin. The next one is iron, Fe, cobalt CO. 1043 is the temperature above which it will behave as paramagnetic material, Fe2O3. Ferrous oxide, 893 Kelvin. Nickel, the temperature is 631. And if you see gadolinium, gadolinium 317. So this is the value of Curie temperatures for various ferromagnetic substances what I listed over there. So above that temperature, these ferromagnetic substances will behave as paramagnetic substances. Next concept is hysteresis loop. Hysteresis loop. If we draw a graph between intensity of magnetization and magnetizing field, intensity of magnetization on y-axis and magnetizing field on x-axis. Such a graph or such a loop is called hysteresis loop. This loop is very much helpful to know the nature of the material, whether the given material is used for or useful for making permanent magnets or temporary magnets like electromagnets. We will decide based on this loop. First, let us understand what is hysteresis. One example let me take. You take one unmagnetized material, keep it in external magnetic field, the lines of force will go and it will align all atomic magnets into proper order and it gets magnetized. When you increase the strength of magnetizing field, intensity of magnetization developed here. You know that intensity of magnetization means which is proportional to H. More the magnetizing field strength is applied here, more the intensity of magnetization developed over there. The proportionality constant between I and H is I value gets increases by increasing H value. You know that I is equal to M by V, magnetic moment developed per unit volume. This proportionality constant is chi, magnetic susceptibility. Magnetic susceptibility is intensity of magnetization to magnetizing field intensity ratio. So all these things are already known to you. Volume of the material is fixed. When you increase magnetizing field, magnetic moment value gets increases here. So which leads to the development of magnetic field inside the iron piece. So if you see here, when I increase H value, I value also gets increases and increases and increases and gets a saturation value, almost becomes constant. When you increase H value, I value gets increases and becomes maximum constant. That saturation value it reaches. That means once all the atomic magnets inside the iron piece gets aligned into the field direction, it gets maximum magnetic moment, it gets maximum magnetic induction. Such a state is represented here. Now it behaves as a permanent magnet as long as external field is available. If I remove the external field, what will happen? Again, these atomic magnets orient randomly themselves and it loses magnetism. When you make H is equal to 0, that means if you remove this field, what will happen? Most of the atomic magnets which were aligned earlier will now randomize and a few of the atomic magnets will be in the direction of the field. After removal of H, some atomic magnets are aligned themselves in the field direction. This property is called retentivity and it is shown by this portion of the graph. Some intensity of magnetization is left over in the sample even after removal of external field. That means even after removal of this external field, this iron piece is having small amount of magnetism. the small amount of magnetism retained even after removal of external field is called remanence or residual magnetism, and this property is called retentivity, which is represented mathematically by the y-intercept on the graph. Now if I apply reverse magnetic field, that means the direction of the magnetic field is reversed here. Now here I applied south, here I applied north. What will happen? What will happen? The reverse magnetic field will try to align the atomic magnets in the reverse direction, like this. Earlier they are aligned in the direction, now they are trying to align themselves in this direction. After some time it will get zero magnetism. That means all the atomic magnets gets 100% randomized. Earlier a few were in the same direction of field. Now every atomic magnet get random direction and they will align themselves in the reverse order. Now again the intensity of magnetization in reverse direction gets increases and gets saturation value. At a particular reverse magnetic field, that means if you increase the strength of the magnetic field in reverse direction, every atomic magnet gets randomized. The amount of reverse field is required to remove the 100% magnetism from the material is called coercivity. Which is given by negative x-intercept of the graph. That means this part is representing coercivity, this part is representing retentivity. C stands for coercivity, R stands for retentivity, or remanence. The property to retain some magnetism soon after removal of external magnetic field is called remanence or retentivity. The strength of the reverse field required to remove the 100% magnetism from the material is called coercivity, represented by negative x-intercept. Again, if I remove the field, again the magnetic moment value decreases and some residual magnetic moment is left over in the sample in the reverse direction. Again, if I reverse the direction of the field, again the magnetism becomes zero, and again the substance gets magnetized in the original direction. This loop, what we observed, is called hysteresis loop. Hysteresis loop tells us the relationship between applied magnetizing field strength and intensity of magnetization developed in the sample you considered. When we increase H value, I value increases and gets saturation value. When we remove H, I value decreases and gets a small positive value. That small positive amount of magnetic field retained in the sample is called residual magnetism or remanence or retentivity, the property of a magnetic material to retain certain magnetic moment even after removal of external magnetizing field is called retentivity or remanence. When we apply a reverse field, that means the same field in reverse direction, and if you increase the strength of the field, at a particular strength of the reverse direction field, the entire randomization of atomic magnets takes place. 100% magnetic moment becomes zero. Such a state is represented by this point, and the amount of reverse field required to remove the residual magnetism is called coercivity. And when we increase the reverse field magnitude or reverse magnetizing field magnitude, again the magnetism will be induced in the reverse direction, and again it gets saturation value. Once if you remove the H external field, again some residual magnetism is observed, and again if you reverse the direction of the field and if you increase the strength of the field at a particular strength of the field, again 100% demagnetization takes place, again magnetization in the reverse direction takes place. Such a loop is called hysteresis loop. If you find the area of the loop, area of the loop is called hysteresis loss. Area of the loop is called hysteresis loss. Here, some work is to be done to orient the magnets in this direction, and again some work is to be done to orient the atomic magnets in the reverse direction. The amount of work done is at the expense of some energy available inside the magnet, or it is nothing but work done by the external field. Okay. So the work done by the external field to orient the atomic magnets into different directions, either in this direction or in this direction, is stored as energy in the magnetic material, and due to the reversal of the field, some energy is lost for doing some work to orient the atomic magnets in right side direction or left side direction. So the work done to orient the atomic magnets in different directions is considered as hysteresis loss, which is represented by the area of the loop. And here, if you observe this hysteresis curve for different materials, here instead of I you should write B also. Here I or B. This curve is called IH curve or BH curve. Anything you can call. Okay. For some materials, the hysteresis loop is very thin and hysteresis loss is very small. For some materials, the hysteresis loop is having more area and hysteresis loss is very high. These materials are useful for making permanent magnets. These materials are useful for making temporary magnets. They are easily magnetizing, they are easily getting demagnetizing. Energy loss is very small. That means you need to do a small work. So they are used for making temporary magnets like electromagnets in electric rain. For some substances, the hysteresis loss is more. So they are difficult to get magnetized and they are difficult to get demagnetized. So we need to do lot of work in case of such materials. Those materials are called hard materials and they are used for making permanent magnets. Permanent magnets are made by the hard materials because they cannot easily get magnetized and they cannot easily get demagnetized. That means if you make it magnetized at one time, they will retain the magnetism for a long time. Hence, those materials are called hard materials. They are used for making permanent magnets like Alnico. Alnico means aluminium nickel cobalt alloy, which is used for making permanent magnets since it is having more area for hysteresis curve. That means hysteresis curve is representing this material as hard material used for making permanent magnets. If you see soft iron is having less hysteresis loss, hence it is easily getting magnetized and easily getting demagnetized. Hence soft iron is used for making temporary magnets. So for soft material, hysteresis area, curve area or loop area is small. Hysteresis loop area is large, means that is hard material. So hard materials are used for making permanent magnets, soft materials are used for making temporary magnets. So from this you can calculate the coercivity value, retentivity value. So retentivity is more, coercivity is small in case of soft material. Retentivity is less, coercivity is more in case of hard materials. And you can know the perfect material for making a temporary magnet and for making permanent magnet. Permanent magnets are required in case of designing of loudspeakers and all. So we use hard materials. In case of electric crane, we use soft material to make the magnetization and demagnetization easily, and very quickly it has to leave the magnetism, and very quickly it has to get the magnetism. So this curve is very, very important for learning about the nature of materials and for the selection of material of a particular substance to make permanent magnet or temporary magnet. Once you read the textbook, based on the textbook idea, what is the retentivity value, what is the coercivity value for soft iron and all eco-like alloy, and how they are used for making like permanent magnets, everything you will come to know. Thank you.